Hey guys, okay, so I don't know what happened before, but my computer was not happy with OBS, all that jazz, which is great. But I am starting again, and we're gonna pretend like that didn't happen. And I'm gonna delete that last video because there is no reason. And I forgot to update my stream manager. Let's see if I can do it real quick while here. So y'all are gonna... Nope, I'm not. Everything's gonna die again. Twitch.tv/app. And my keyboard is not working. Or is it Safari? Cool. So today is going to be a day of technical difficulties, which is awesome. I'm not playing Tetris, even if that's what it says I'm doing. I'm not. Which is great. Let me just open, because oh great, it just signed me in. Perfect. Okay, I need to get to my stream manager. I hate video producer. So we're gonna see a little bit of redundancy here, because I don't manager. Let's see if I can get this edited right now. I was hoping, since I had the schedule set up, it would just pick up the title of the schedule, but it doesn't, which is awesome. Let's just get into Drive. So one sec while I get this actually set up correctly. And I might have to be stopping again. So I hope everyone's having a good Monday. This is my first time also switching to everything being on Mondays. Like switching to everything being in the afternoon, which is fun. It's not, it's just, I don't need that window. We're gonna change that, and we're gonna change this. Science. And I might just, restart this because, can I just copy and paste all these things? No, I cannot. That's fine. So what I had: programming, software, mobile development. I don't even know if it helps after. So, hey, I have a viewer. Welcome. Just setting this up to be actually correct, because I'm not actually watching. We're not actually playing Tetris. We are going to be working on the Coffee Companion app. So I just wanted to show right before everything hit the fan and hit the wall. I was just talking about how we're going to be developing Coffee Companion today. Previously, I had this as I had kept saying that this was going to be a free app I was never going to release. I have since then decided to change my mind, and it is going to be something I release. I've started on a website already. It's very basic. Just Coffee Companion takes you to Trello, Github, watch the development, all that kind of stuff. It hasn't, nothing else has actually been done to it besides this, which is fine. I'm just trying to get things started on here. So like I said, it is open sourced. If this is your first time joining, it is open source. So if you go to the GitHub repo, you'll find it here. What the app state currently looks like. just able to type it in, dismiss, that kind of stuff. Features, all that good things. Then there's the Trello board, which I have open here. And this Trello board is going to help me just figure out what I need to do next, keep up the to-dos, all that kind of thing. Instead of having a doing column, I'm going to have a next stream column. So these are the things that I want to get done in this stream. Oh, that's very hard to see because my monitor is really big. There we go. So instead of having like a doing column, which is what this next stream column would be, it's just a next stream. So what I'm planning to get, so this time it's what I'm planning to get done today, which is the 18th. And I don't like my dates like that. I actually do like that. All right, so we have our next stream. So this is what we're going to get done today. Formatting doubles to 2 spaces on the right of the decimal place. We're going to add a button to actually dismiss the new amount instead of it just being a slide to dismiss. I don't really like that, and I might actually change that instead of a sheet that instead of a sheet that pops up, since it's only that one text. It might just, I'm contemplating changing this to be a custom view that just pops up like a Z-stack type deal in SwiftUI. Let me type that in real quick. Changing to Z-stack view. That way I can remember whenever I say I'm thinking about it. But either way, I need a button there to dismiss that. And then I do want to get the timer working. Hopefully this will take about 2 hours. Hopefully this will take less than 2 hours. So, right now I just started at 1. Part of the reason that I switched my streaming to from 6:30 to 1 is because I wanted to do it a bit longer. So with that being said, let's actually start some coding. Let's handle the format doubles to 2 spaces. So first, instead of views, I'm actually going to make a folder. I don't need to show in Finder. Yay, already making mistakes here. It's great. It's what live streaming is all about, is watching through these technical things happen. Well, I'm just gonna make it huge to see through. What I'm gonna do is add a new group here, and I'm gonna call it extensions. So what I really need to do to make the double only, what I've done before and what I think I'm gonna do now, to make a double only have, 2 decimal places to the right, I am going to make an extension on the string, on the double type, that I can just say dot, I can end up whatever function I want to call it. So it could be like a dot to string, for example, or and then it'll output the string with only 2 spaces to the right. So since I made that extension, I'm going to go ahead and make a new file that does that. And we're just going to call it, it's a new Swift file, string plus, it's a double plus extensions. So I couldn't call it double.swift because I'm guessing there is some weird things happening there with the, because double is a keyword, so I just did double.plus extensions. Feel free, if you don't understand something or you want me to come back to it or explain more about what I'm doing, drop it in the chat. If you have any tips for what I'm doing, also drop it in the chat. Feel free to talk to me. I'm just going to be here and trying to explain what I'm doing as I'm talking. Cool. So like I said, I'm going to make an extension here. Double. And I'm actually, to do that, I'm actually going to open another project that I've done this in. I've done this exact same thing in iHog before. In there, I just kept all of my code basically in all of my extensions in one folder. In one file. I didn't necessarily like that though, because of readability purposes. If the text is also too small, let me know in the chat and I can make it bigger. extension double. And I don't want to call it string. I'm going to call it toString. So I'm basically copying this format here. And it's just going to take that. It's just going to be that. So I'm calling it toString, and I'm giving it fraction digits so that, you know, maybe at some point I could add in a setting that allows users to define how many decimal places they want, because maybe they don't want to see any. So they could say, great, don't see any, and they would never see it. I believe this would probably just do a, this would probably just chop them off. I haven't seen it yet. One sec. Sorry, I had a cat trying to go into the closet here. The closets in these rooms don't have doors, which is great. Cool. So in here, toString, let formatter equals number formatter. And we're just going to say return. I just want to get rid of that error. So that should get rid of that. Formatter dot minimum fraction digits equals fraction digits. Great. And then we'll do formatter dot maximum fraction digits equals fraction digits. So we're using the number formatter here. It's just a class built into Swift. I know that's probably really tiny and really hard to see, but it's just a class that's built into Swift that lets us actually format the numbers a bit better. Cool. And then on here, we're going to, one second, I actually have to get her down. Can you not? No. Stop. Stop. Cats, they're fun, right? I'm actually going to change this minimum fraction digits to be 0. Because if it's a whole number, there just shouldn't be fractions. There just shouldn't be decimal numbers in my mind. And now we're going to return that string. From number value and self. So we can do self because it's going to be an extension, and because that will return a optional, we'll just let it return a string interpolation of itself. So we get to call self because we're actually doing an extension off this double. So double already knows the value of itself, which is basically why we're able to call self here. And then we're going to say, or just return self if for some reason this fails. It shouldn't, but if for some reason it does, then we can do that. Again, sorry about stepping away. The cat was just climbing everywhere, and that just distracts me even more. Great, so that is done. So we have that extension. So now we can basically go anywhere that I'm calling these that I'm placing these doubles, and we'll just say .toString. So let's go back into views. Great, so we actually need to go into coffee amount here. Let's just say 2. And if I open up that canvas view here and I hit resume, it's going to take a little bit while to build, but what we'll see here is that coffee amount, that 60 grams of coffee that I put in there, or even actually 60.5 based on what my preview amount is here. We'll see that that's actually 60.5. I believe it should be 60.5 and just done. It might be 60.50 though. I've actually never messed with that minimum amount, so I'm guessing it's just saying anywhere between that range. That's actually what we're going to show if they're not zeros. But I could be completely wrong with interpreting that. Cool. So I know it's kind of slow to build. I'm thinking of how to actually get a animation that, you know, goes on the screen and is like building, building, building. It just spins around until it's actually done instead of just watching the Xcode spinner. But I need to figure out how to actually make that animation then. I might see if one of my friends can do it. Today I'm drinking coffee and will be probably drinking sparkling water also. Coffee keeps me sane and keeps me going through all of this. That way I'm nice and awake. The water just keeps me hydrated, which is also good to have around. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around with this. I know building takes forever. Cool. And so during all of this, like I said, I did the website. I'm starting to actually put a design through Sketch. I might decide to just throw that away and just deal with handwritten designs and still put those handwritten designs onto its website. The website's URL is coffee-companion.appsbymw.com. I'll put that in the chat real quick. coffeecompanion.appsbymw.com. It just makes it a little bit easier whenever it's all associated to my one URL. Oh, hey Cynthia. Welcome back for another fun stream. Pog. What's Pog? This stream is not as gamey as my last couple have been. I know last week I did a lot of Tetris stuff. Oh, I don't... All right. Hi, Dylan. Also, I'm guessing he's somewhere around in the room. But yeah, so this week's not going to be as gamey. It's going to go back to like what I would call my normal schedule of like 2 days of Swift development and then 1 day in the middle there of Animal Crossing stuff, just because I also need a break besides just streaming stuff. Oh my goodness, this is taking way too long to build there. And so let's try actually building it in the simulator. Failed to build to scheme a coffee. I don't even know why. I have no idea why that was taking so long to build. It shouldn't have taken that long to build. It's never taken that long to build. So let's not build in the simulator. And we'll just, let's not build in the preview and we'll just build in the simulator. Oh, Cynthia, you'll like this. My coffee cup is Ravenclaw because that is what house I was in, or am in, not was. I guess that never stops. But yeah. Yee. I got it at Target a couple years ago, and we also have a Slytherin one for Katie. But yeah. Okay, so hopefully this actually builds a little bit better, and we can actually see it a little bit better in action. Ravenclaw is the best. The first time I took Pottermore, it had me choose, or I don't know if I've taken it again, but it had me choose between Ravenclaw and Gryffindor, so I had to actually choose which house I wanted to be in. And because it said Gryffindor would just be you'd follow Harry's footsteps, I chose Ravenclaw to be slightly different. But yes, I agree. Ravenclaw is the best. If this takes forever to keep building, then we'll just, I really like to build. I'm going to close that one also. Maybe that'll help not having another instance of Xcode open. Yeah, I figured. It's just gonna take a while, which is fine, I guess. Yes, the build was successful, so that's always a good sign. Great. Usually I try to get it to build at least once before starting, but apparently I did not try to do that this time. Well, I did have to restart my computer, so even if I had, it all came to be, it all got away anyway. Go ahead and increase the size one more time. Oh, that's why. I'm like, why are my keyboard shortcuts not working? Well, because the keyboard is paired to the iPad, which is what I'm using to chat on Twitch if I need to. Or to see all you wonderful viewers on Twitch. Alright, so that should be building now, and it should show soon. Okay, while that's building, I'm going to go ahead and apply this to the rest of the amounts. Well, that's going to show soon. So coffee amount dot ratio. So we can actually just do this. So we put it in parentheses, just like back in like grade school, where it doesn't, that way it does not, it just says do this amount and then apply this, this function. There we go, 60 grams. So that got in there, and if I type in, I'm gonna use my built-in keyboard instead of tapping on the screen. I hit the drop down, we're at 65.02. We don't see 8,000,000 zeros at the end. So now we're just gonna go do that to the rest. And then I get to move that card from from next stream to done. I'm just going to copy and paste instead of doing that over and over again. Water amount. And then we need to do blooming. That's where it is. And we're going to do the same thing. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and run that real quick just to make sure it goes, but that should be done there. Just make sure, it also helps to build to make sure I don't have any errors, because sometimes they won't pop up till I'm actually building. And there we go. So there's no decimals. Just to reiterate, there's no decimals because I put this minimum fraction digits as 0. And then I did the maximum fraction digits as whatever number I enter when I call the toString method. So, or function, I guess is what they're called in Swift. So when I put the toString function in there and I say, hey, do 2 as the fraction digits, and that's when we'll start seeing 2. So if I do, even if I do, let's do 6.125, 6, and I do that, and I drag down to dismissed, it just rounds up. You don't actually see the last 3 digits because I said only show 2, and so it's going to round up like that. So with that being said, let's go back into here, and we're going to mark this as done. So I want a button to actually dismiss that new amount instead of, so I need to calculate and then a cancel. So the cancel and then calculate. Okay. So let's try that. Here. That would be in coffee amount. So so we'll have the H stack in there, but we're gonna actually put it inside a form. Is what I want to do. Button action print. Okay, so we have that button there for save. And then I also want to do a cancel up at the top. I'm just trying to think of the best way to do that. We'll just do a bit. We're actually going to do another H stack here. So the form kind of acts, if you're not familiar with SwiftUI or like with this part, the form is just a view of how it works. And then it's a V stack at the end of the day too. So it's a vertical stack, meaning what you type in, it just starts stacking one on top of another. So inside this H stack, we're actually going to put a spacer at the beginning, and it's going to say text. And then, so that's just going to say, hey, take up all the space to the left of this. And then on the right, it's going to auto adjust to keep these spaces in here. So we're not going to do button. We're not going to do text. So we're doing action cancel print. So obviously I will want it to do something when I hit cancel. When I hit the cancel button, not just print cancel to my little window down here, this window down here. It's just, I need to put something in for now. So let's run it real quick. Oh, because this isn't the form. Awesome. Coffee adjust is the form. Great. So let me open this, and we're just gonna copy a lot of what I just did. I was like, man, that looks so weird because it's not where it should be going. It should be going in here. All right, so basically because I had done it in the wrong view. Oh, thanks, Cynthia. Have a good day. Thanks for dropping by. Because I had it in the wrong view here, we are going to actually discard all of these changes. So because I use Git to do all my changes, I can actually just click here and discard, and it should change everything. Yay. Now if I run that, it should all be back to normal. Oh, and that went back to how that was because I just said discard all those changes. But we should see now when I click on coffee ground a cancel button and a save button, which is what I needed. I wonder though if I drop this in a section if it'll look better. And we'll build that again. Whoops. Dashboard. There we go. Everything's back. Okay, there has to be a better way for that. Well, first off, I don't want that. I want that color to be gone. So we're going to say foreground color dot red. So I want cancel to be red, which in my mind makes sense for cancel. And then save is going to be a green button. So I'll just... but I want it to be like fields and stuff. So maybe the form is not what I want. What if I do it? This is just a standard VStack. Get that indentions back. So a nifty shortcut that I've learned with Xcode is if I have indentions wrong, then you can Command A to select everything. That's just standard in Mac, or Control A selects everything also in Windows. But Control I will get your spacing back to normal, or get your formatting back to whatever the default is. Cool, so I have that here. I click on it. Okay, so, I mean, it doesn't look that bad. It could definitely be better, but I have cancel like I want it, which is great. I thought, okay, so we're gonna take this padding and actually apply it to the whole VStack. And we're gonna build it that way. Cool, and that should definitely look better. All right, great. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually make that go to the top. I can do this with a spacer like I have been doing. Like this, but that's gonna force everything to go to the bottom. So I'm also gonna put a spacer here. And I should be able to move that on up here out of that. Again, thanks everyone for coming to watch. We're just trying to build, just trying to build this out. And now I'm gonna wear my headphones backwards because my mic is on my right, but this is on my left. Great. Only deal is that the button is really high at the top, but we can fix that on batting.top. Great. All right, so that's at the top. I don't need that open anymore. Save, I want to be green, and have a lot of padding around it. So we're just gonna put padding dot all 10, and then make the foreground dot green. I don't know if y'all can hear, but one of my dogs is really snoring quite loudly. Okay, so we have that save button. If I open up down here, we can see that it says save, which is great, as it should. And then cancel says cancel. Perfect. That's all it's saying here, cancel and save. So let me go ahead and actually implement that now. So there should be a modifier to do that. I'm gonna actually go to one of my blog posts and look that up real quick. Yes, I have to go back to my own blog posts every now and then because, again, it's not something you do all the time. You're not going to remember it completely. But this is also why I started making blog posts more, was so that I could figure out how, so that whenever I need to go back, I'm not always opening, there it is. I'm not always opening a default, project window. I'm just opening this part. Making the modal appear. Great. Disappear. Add a dismiss button. Self.presentationMode.wrapped. And I also need that environment variable. So let's copy that first. Xcode here. Cool. So then we can say so inside cancel, all we want to do is add a self.presentation mode dot wrapped value dot dismiss, right? Presentation mode dot wrapped value dot dismiss. Build it. All I'm going to do is build it real quick. Of course, has no. It does though. What did I do wrong? But it does have it. It's not spelled right though. Spelling gets me every time. Copy ground. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit cancel and it goes away. So save still doesn't do anything right now, which is totally fine. Because what I've actually done last time is just made it to where you didn't have to hit save beforehand. So we can do one or two things. We can either make it to where you still don't have to hit save and you can still drag down and it just saves. Or we can just not let it, if you have to hit save in order for it to take the amount. I am going to make it do both, where it saves. Well, users would probably expect if you dismiss it, it just cancels it out. So I'll just make it to where it only saves on the thing here. So the first thing I'm going to do though is wrap this in keep it like it is there. And we're going to say add in a function down here for it, and it's going to be save new value. Oof, I apparently cannot type on keyboard today. So in save new value, we're going to copy this. And we can actually get rid of this as well. And all that fun binding mess there we'll get rid of in just a second. But we're just going to say coffee amount equals new amount, the double of the new amount, or it's going to be 0.0. I don't have to do anything fancy with like if let or guard let here, just because if it's empty and that new amount is nothing, then I want it to be 0.0. Great. So with that double new amount, 0.0, perfect. And then we also need to say this part again. And that's just going to dismiss it as well. So when I click save next time, it'll also close it. And we, like I said, we can get rid of all of this wonderful mess here and make it a lot more concise, where it's just bling, new amount. Just because let me explain what I was doing a little bit beforehand. So that self dot new amount. So I was basically declaring a new binding variable, and then then made it a binding variable. Basically makes it a computed property where you have that get and that set value. So get is going to be what's presented. So that would be like the 60.0 in my iPhone here. and then it was saying set. So whenever you change the value to get that new value, what do you want to do? Well, we're going to assign it to self.new value, new amount. That's no longer necessary. And then I had that extra line there to get that staying the same in sync. So that's no longer necessary in here. So actually what I can do is just text will do this automatically by taking in that binding variable for me. So I can just send it that state variable for new amount. So we're just going to do bling new amount. And how Swift and the compiler know that it's that binding variable, or it's a binding, it's a type of binding, then we is by using that $, or what I've been calling bling as I type. And I'm just going to put it all in one line because it looks fine. So now if I build it, hopefully it's a bit better. If you enjoy what you're watching and you want to see more of it, please hit the follow button. I'd really appreciate it. Just it helps show that you're interested in what I'm doing. Okay, so why is it just, oh, because I put it in the on appear, so that makes sense. So if you notice when I hit coffee ground, it was just automatically closing. Well, that's because instead of putting it actually in the function save new value, I also didn't call the function there. Instead of putting it in the function save new value, I put it on appear in that life cycle function. So in that life cycle, so then so it's basically saying as soon as this appears, hey, can you close the window? Which is not what we want. We want it to do to call it whenever I call it here. So now we're going to call it self.save new value. So that should have fixed it. And I don't need the self dot in here. The reason I don't need a self dot in here is because it's not inside a closure, so it's okay. I'm guessing that's why. That's the reason I am giving myself. Again, feel free to say hi in the chat, talk, all that good stuff. Follow me if you like what you're seeing. I'm going to be doing SwiftUI work every Monday and Friday, and then Animal Crossing, and then have some fun with some Animal Crossing on Wednesdays. Great. If I hit cancel, it goes away. I hit it again. If I just dismiss, it didn't update, which is great. Well, actually, we won't know if it didn't update. So I'm gonna dismiss. It didn't update, which is what it should do. And then 65.5, I hit save, and it updates and it calculates. So that's awesome. So that has also been done. So I have that, click here, and it changes that. The only thing is save needs to be further to, I really don't like save just being by itself, and I think I actually want it to be that rounded type as well, that was a little bit more prominent. So we're going to put this in an H stack. I really like my H stacks, and I really like my spacers. So H stack. And then we're going to put it inside a spacer also. And my coffee is now cold. So now it is time for my, seltzer water. Great. We have that here. Click here. Save looks kind of like it should. My padding is, oh, because it has the all padding around it. If you notice, I put the padding in here inside the button itself, mainly because then it gives the touch target a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and hit plus here, and we're going to go see it. And we're going to go see how I made that outline button real quick again. So that was in calc main. Nope, it was in timer. I might end up changing the color on the save a little bit. Maybe it'll go to blue instead of green just because I'm using the green for the timer. I think that would be okay. Oh, why did it fail? I had a failure. I was probably changing something. All right, and here we go. So if I click here, I change the foreground to white. I want that to stay white, but the background to be blue. I think. If I don't like it, then I'll just change to get rid of the foreground color. Okay, trying again. Take number 2. There we go. It's nice. Great. Nice color there. Looks pretty lined up. Hit save. It goes away. That's what I should be doing. I'm going to get rid of these print functions here. Because I don't really need them. Okay, and then anything else to make this a bit better? I'm actually going to put some space, some padding vertically around the button as well, but that's not part of the touch target. I just want it to be spaced a little bit further down. So I'm going to put dot padding dot vertical. So it only applies to the top and the bottom of this button. There we go. All right, so to me that looks a lot better. We have cancel up here. Tap it, it types in. It doesn't really make it seem like it's tappable. I have a feeling that making it a different color would be helpful. I'm gonna go ahead and make it coffee color. And then we'll just say in here we're gonna say yeah, so I can just say in here dot foreground color to be coffee. And it's gonna be like, I don't know this coffee color. Well, I'm gonna rename it. And I also want to rename, so Xcode also does something nifty when you want to rename something, especially if you're like a variable or constant or a function, and you've already used it in several places. You can actually hold down Command, click on the name, and then hit rename, and it's going to actually change everywhere that's also been called. We're going to call it coffee. And it's also pretty smart enough to know not to do what's in strings, so that's cool. And then if you highlight it, you can hit this plus to actually include it. So I'm not going to do that though. I just needed to change that one variable amount. So now if I do that, then it's at least going to be a slightly different color than the text, which is pretty much what I wanted. Cool. Click here. And there we go. So it's a little bit different color. I think that'll be better, especially based on, because then it shows, it correlates a bit more, especially since it takes up the whole screen. Like I said, I might change this to just be a little Z, so just show up in front of instead of behind. If I change this real quick to dark mode, I wonder if that looks okay. Interface style, dark. So I do actually need to change that dark color. So I'm going to go ahead into my assets here. And inside assets, we made this coffee color. It is universal, but we can actually adjust it. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that second editor, open up my inspector. And we're going to say appearance for any in dark. Can we just make it a little bit bright? I want it brighter, but I don't. Okay. Oh, 255 numbers. I can actually work a bit more in those. That might be a bit better. Let's try building it, running it again. Now that's in dark mode. I need to override that. Yeah, that didn't look anywhere good. Nope. I really just need it to be, I need like a white. Oh, I just want it to be lighter. Okay, so I need it to be lighter. So let's just do a 153. 90 plus 20 is what? 110? 48 plus 20 is going to be 68. Oh, well, hey. Why can't I get like RGB white? I would love having an RGB white, just like if I was programming my lights. Ooh, and that white for the box does not work. We're actually going to go and change that also real quick before I even start that. And it's going to be, instead of dot white, it's going to be dot primary. That should be better. Override. Light. Dark. 60 is definitely looking better. I think I'm going to keep it for now. We're just going to call that good. So that's great. That part's done, I think. I've actually done most of that. So the next thing I wanted to do was get the timer actually working. Okay. So I'm going to take just a quick pause from coding real quick. I'm going to open up the last blog post I wrote, which was in preparation for this. Not the last one, but the time before that. I'm actually going to do it through my website. I think it's a little bit faster because there's not too much here. Make account up timer. Cool. So one sec. We've been going for about an hour now, and it's been a fun hour. So just taking a little bit of a break before we keep going again. Just letting you focus on me for a bit until we keep going. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know if this is a better time or a worse time for people who want to watch people who code than the 6:30 time. If you had an issue with the timing, let me know in the chat or shoot me a tweet. I believe my Twitter's on my Twitch account. Let me go check real quick. Because I'm pretty sure it's there. Shoot me a tweet. Let me know if this worked or if it didn't work. If you're liking what I'm doing, then go ahead to ko-fi.com/appsbymw and see me there as well, and leave me some love there by buying me a coffee or two. I really would appreciate it. It would definitely help a bit with the computer issues, all of that I'm having. It'll also help during this wonderful time of COVID, just because we are all on lockdown right now, which is great. Cool. Yeah, and there's a link down below in the Buy Me a Coffee on Ko-Fi, that coffee with the heart coffee cup with the heart on it. I really appreciate it. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with code again. I know my computer chugs a little bit whenever I just focus on myself. All right. So now that you got to see my choppy self talk all about everything, let's go ahead and keep chugging along. So I have this blog post here up here so that we can get through here on making this actually work. I want these to, nope, there we go. And I want this to go, sorry, I'm just trying to rearrange my screens real quick to be a little bit better. Right third, geez, what I was looking for, my bad. Okay. So we have this timer function. I don't know if this actually counts as business code here, logic code, and trying to be better about separating my views and my extensions and all that kind of stuff. We're just gonna make it inside this view inside this view. I think it'll be okay. It's not like the timer's used anywhere else, and if it is, you can still see it here. That would be cool. Okay, sorry. I just had an idea to add in here. Make timer present at top of app when going. Cool. I mean, I'll have to definitely research that a bit. I'm going to call it validate. Cool. Now, yeah. Edit labels. And instead of green, I'm going to make it gray. Save. No, come back. Isn't it great watching someone mess around? Oh, gray is not shown. It's no color, my bad. There we go, validate. Cool. All right, so it might be shown elsewhere, but we'll figure it out. Because it might just be this text is then what's changes. And it's shown then I'll have to figure out how I'm storing that to access it globally. But for right now, let's get started. So we don't need hours, minutes, seconds. So what we're going to do here is just make this timer count up. If you've already read my blog post about it, great. I did a standalone make a count up timer using Swift and SwiftUI. I'm going to follow along with this because this was actually written in preparation for this timer part. So let's just do it. Let's get it done and all that good stuff. So the first thing I need in here are actually two variables. Actually, I'm going to do that first. And open up GitFox before we start this so that I can get this onto Git so that I don't, if something goes wrong horribly again, I don't lose it all. I've been really liking this app a lot more for my things. I don't want to add in my designs yet. I've been really liking this app a lot more for Git than Tower and the other one Git Fork that I was using. It just has a little bit nicer UI. They look almost the same between here and Fork, but I like it. Finished. What are these issues? Issue number 2 and number 1. So we're going to go ahead and push that, up commit to that, and then push. So that's been added. So now all this should go away. That was the whole reason. I do like to have, before I start a big task like this, I do like to basically get everything onto GitHub, or just commit it into my Git repo so that I can go back and easily restore this to how it was or discard my changes. So let's keep going. All right, so like I said, I need two variables here. I'm actually going to just try this with one variable, private var time, and it's going to be an array of it's 0, 0. Cool. Yeah, so it's going to be a time array of 0, 0. So the hour should be the first one, and the second one should be the first slot. So it should be hour. I mean, sorry, not hour. Minutes, and then seconds. Cool. That way it's just a bit easier to update and all that kind of stuff. Not easier, because I think hours and minutes works, but we'll just try it this way. And see how this goes, instead of having separate variables here. And then we're going to next is do this. Time at 0, time at 1. I don't think I'm actually going to like this, to be honest. Well, actually, we're going to make these strings. We'll see if this even works. I don't know. I don't actually know if I'm going to like this way. With the variables like this, we'll just have to see, because it is a lot less readable, and I really am going for that readability, making it easy to kind of see where things are going. But, I mean, if it looks the same, it looks the same. It does. We're actually going to say that state private var time hours equals 0, 0. Well, we're still going to have hour equals 0. It's not hour, it's minutes. Well, since I still have to have it, I'm just going to not have that. We'll see. I might actually still have the time. Great, so that's done. Then we are going to do we actually need one more variable on whether the timer is actually going. At state private var is going, is timer going. So if it's going, true. So we need it to default to false. Is timer going? False. It's not. Cool. Great. So let's actually deal with starting the timer. So outside of the view here, I'm gonna go ahead and just hide it all. We're gonna have a func start. We're gonna make a new function, timer. And it's going to say timer, is timer going? And we're going to say timer is going, false. So timer is going equals true. Yeah. Wait, so timer is going equals true. And now we actually need to make a whole new timer in here. And actually, I'm going to make this timer at the beginning. That way, in case we need to, well, you'd probably just always start over. So it's okay. We'll just make it here. Let timer equals timer.scheduled timer. So we're going to use the built-in Swift timer class. Did I I need to actually import anything? No, I don't. Sorry, one sec. I'm just kind of reading through. Okay, so schedule timer with time interval 1 repeats true. So basically, we're just saying timer is scheduled. Of course it doesn't, because why would it? Timer. Well, it does have a scheduled timer. Sorry, one second. Apparently it's thinking it doesn't. What if I do a var? Oh, you know what? I actually need the variable out here because I'm going to have a stop timer function. And we need to be able to access that. So we're just going to say timer. And we don't need to declare it again. Okay, it should have it. Cannot have a stored property. It recursively contains it. It doesn't. Oh, wonderful troubleshooting. No, timer value. Oh, I see. Okay, so let's do a timer view instead of timer. And then inside here, view, we're just going to rename all of this. I understand what's happening. I declare a struct as the same timer as called timer, and that is not happy anywhere. It totally makes sense why it's not, but then this is going to be an issue. Missed parameter block in call. What? Oh, okay. So now it's working. Great. That should be better now. My bad. So now we need to call that wonderful closure in here. So we're going to say temp timer in. So if self dot, so now this is where things get fun because we need to say if the seconds is equal to 59, then we need to actually increment minutes. Minutes equals 1. No, sorry, equals second, self dot second still equals 0. That should be, oh. It should be fine, no. Making sure it builds. Okay, great. So self dot seconds equals 0. Else if, so in there, and then we need to do self dot minutes equals self dot minutes plus 1. Great. So that's just checking if self dot seconds is equal to 59. I should say is greater than or equal to 59. Yeah, greater than or equal to 59. Then self dot seconds equals 0, and self dot minutes equals equals self.minutes plus 1. And then else self.seconds equals self.seconds plus 1. Great. So that starts the timer. So now we need to make another function that stops timer. Timer is going equals false. Self, and this needs to be false. Okay, and then we're just going to say timer dot invalidate to stop the to get the it stops the timer from starting again, and we're just going to reset it back to nil so it's back to that default value. So we don't just keep making new timers on top of there. I only mean .1. Great. So now we're incrementing that. What we also need to do is set in here, excuse me. That should be fine. I don't want to reset it back to 0 because it'll restart back once you hit start. Okay, so what we really need to do here is instead of having these buttons built into this view, what I'm going to do is actually build this button outside as a separate function, as a separate view in here that we can just say, hey, if is going. Then we're going to call this view. And then I'm going to have to also call to update this part here, the 0, 0 part. I just tapped my screen like you to see what I'm tapping on. But these, to update this part here, the 0, 0 part here. So we're going to make a new view that way. So we're going to say var start button. Some view. Oh, no. I actually make it private because it should only be accessed here. And it's just going to say start. And then we're going to do another one. It's pretty much the same, except it's going to say stop button. It's going to say stop, and it's going to be color .red. And then it should also say, this should call self.stop timer. And then this should call self.start timer. Great. Awesome. If you're looking for what I'm working on currently, I'm going to put the GitHub repo here. I'm going to put the GitHub repo into the chat here. And this is exactly what I'm working on right now. So that if you want to go back and watch it and look at some of the code, you can. It's all open source, so you can see exactly what I'm doing. You'll notice that there's 2 branches inside that GitHub, one for the website and one for the and one for actually building. The website will probably not I will probably end up deleting the app work from the website branch. Or I'll just keep it the same, and then it'll be always the same. It's just that the master branch does not contain the website data. Okay, so cool. So we have that start timer, that stop timer. Now I also need to get the seconds. we'll just say time at 0 equals self.seconds. And time at 1 equals slash self.minutes. And we're actually going to run that on the outside. Oh. Whoops, forgot to put the quotes around the string interpolation. So now if I run that, self dot. Great. Now if I run that, it should be better. My bad, I forgot to actually link up these two functions here that I did. So we're going to say if timer is going, then we want to say timer is going. So if it's true, we need the stop button. Else start button. So if the timer is going, then we show stop. Else, so if it's false, if it's not going, but it does. Oh, whoops. That's right. Because it's a variable, it doesn't get the parentheses since it's not a function. Ha, start. Okay, so really all I did here was I did this wrong. So self.seconds is 1 and self.minutes is 0. So we're stopping. And we're actually going to end up making that width the exact same for everything. But so that width should probably just take up the entire width of the screen. Cool. So the only thing I need to do is keep it 2 digits, like making sure that it stays 2 digits instead of 1. I can either brutally do this where I check to see if that string is 1 or 2 counts. So check the count of the string where it's 1 or 2. And if it's 1, then I put a 0 at the beginning. And if it's 2, then I don't do anything. Let's see what Google has to say. How to add a leading 0 in Swift. Leading zeros for int. Stack Overflow, the place where I get all my answers. Oh, that seems easy. There's a format function. Let's just do that. Dot format. Oh no, I would do it on the string. Dot format. So, no. Oops. So it's gonna be string format. We're going to say format here, percent 0 to D. So saying we want it to be 2. And then close the percent. And then we pass it the variable self.seconds. And I think we're going to do the same thing for self.minutes, but call it minutes. So let's see what happens. Oh my goodness, it's working. We have double digits there in the timer. The only thing I actually want now is for that timer to be bigger. And the button text to be a bit bigger. But that is awesome. It works. It does work. It just does not, it just doesn't look like I want it to. What if I change that to secondary instead of primary? I wonder if that would look better. So I'm going to call this done, because the timer feature is actually, the timer works. So working, because it's so big and this window is small. There we go. Oh no, secondary looks way worse. White, I think is actually going to be our best option. Actually, I can choose dot black there and right here. Start. Stop. Okay, so that works. Cool. Great. That's awesome. Great, so that works. So that works. I know I had the make edit screen is what I want us to do next. I do need to add testing. I don't know how to do testing with Xcode projects, which will be something that we learn together. I might start trying to do it on a separate thing. User defaults for ratio and blooming, edit screen. I do need to make the edit screen because I haven't done any of that yet, but really I wanted to keep this around 2 hours, so we have another 30 minutes. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what to do next because I actually emptied this out. I thought it was going to take a little bit longer than it did, which is a good thing, a decent thing. Cool. Let me see if I can do something. Time.is. So this seconds should change. Well, yeah. Great. Great. I know that I'm not doing this as effectively as I can because I'm just having it do the minutes every single time. It doesn't have to do the minutes every time. It only has to do the seconds every single time because the minutes only have to change when that does. Let me go ahead and get this added into Git real quick though. Timer works. Stage. Do not stage that. I know I could just say designs is added to my git ignore file, but I don't want it to be ignored yet. But I think we are overall working. It's not going to get that much delayed. I know some people said don't. The caution with timer is that you want to be careful because it doesn't keep true all the time to 1 second, but I'm going to keep using it. It's not going to make or break for coffee. Maybe if I was doing like a running app where you really needed like those milliseconds to be precise, it would be a little bit different, but I think this is okay. Timer works again. Cool. I'm going to let that roll over to a minute and make sure it still actually rolls over to the minute. it did. It rolled over. Great. So timers are toggling. The buttons are changing. Let's see if we can add in a fade in on view. SwiftUI. Dobby. Dobby? Dobby. Okay. Sorry, it looked like my dog had decided to stop breathing. With a transition. Is it really that easy? So I can just say with animation. So we're going to say here. With animation. And then inside start. With animation. Self.start timer. Okay. Let's try a scale transition. I believe it needs to go onto the button itself, not onto where I'm calling it. Let's see. That might be fun. Ooh, that was fun. Oh, so it's not actually resetting. Okay, so I do actually need to reset those minutes and seconds to 00. Okay, so what if I do self.minutes equals 0, self.seconds equals 0. This doesn't really matter. I'll call them the stop timer. That way nothing else is bogged down here when you hit start. That way it starts pretty instantly. Stop, start. Cool. That looks great. I like that. So that's going to be done. I'm going to add a new thing to do. Add a log of coffee brewing. So basically this should be another view. That opens, that shows coffee, previous weights, water amounts, and total time used. Save. So I'm basically building up the need for doing core data and well, I'm going to want it to be CloudKit compatible at some point, so that you can sync between devices. Cool. Okay. Great. So that's done. I made a little bit more slick with the animations. And we're gonna push that again. Okay, so that's been done. Okay, so I really need to decide what I'm gonna do right now. So we can add user defaults and just make it to where that's stored. That way your ratio and your blooming are stored from session to session. That way you don't have to keep, like, if you adjust it, it doesn't go back to defaults. I need to actually build this onto my phone so I can start using it in the mornings now. Because that would actually be really good so that I can keep this all going correctly. Yep. And then, you know, yourself is the best beta user. But what do I want to do now? Is the issue now that I actually did what I wanted to do. Okay. So this stream is done. So I'm gonna relabel this to be, what's next week's date? Next week's date is the 25th. Ooh, it's Memorial Day. I don't think I have to. Great. Cool. So it's So next Monday is Memorial Day, and I'll still be doing it from 1 to 3, because why not? Okay. And then we added that button to dismiss new amounts. We added formatting. So next time we're going to do the edit screen, and I think that's what we're basically going to do all of next time is this edit screen. For you guys that don't know what that edit screen is going to look like, here it is. It's going to be this half here. So that we can adjust what the coffee is, what the water ratio is, bloom length, and then bloom water amount, which is why it doesn't really make sense to implement user preferences, user defaults yet, until we make the edit screen. So I'll also add that in as something to do here. That's great. Cool. I have to figure out how we get to Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Again, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I know this is really fun, just watching me figuring out what to do next. But again, if you want to, drop stuff in the chat, do a follow, all that good stuff. I do want to do more on the app today. I just don't know what. Why don't we start? Nothing. Doing nothing. Okay, I could make the app, so I need to actually decide, and I'll figure it out at some point. So we have the edit button. The edit button will be great, and it will show what I need to show, but then we're going to get a way to get to the settings, which can be here, and then like your previous coffee stuff, which I don't know if, I mean, this is basically all I need for this screen. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the spacing is completely off here. I don't know why, so let me go figure out why that's off. But why did I only apply it there? Oh, I know why I only applied it there, but we'll just, okay, I know why now. To give it a bigger touch target. I understand. But now it just looks weird for everything else. Because nothing else had that padding. I'm guessing in the edit window, I should probably have a way to change your coffee ground amount, because it's not really noticeable to click here. Yeah, it's not really noticeable when I click there. To click there. Let's go into blooming real quick. We're gonna just apply that here. So if there are any suggestions on what to do about clicking there, how to make it a little bit more noticeable, I'm more than down to listen to them. I'll probably post it on Twitter and see what people suggest doing. Because I need to know what to do there. Might as well just keep everything inside of itself rather than out here. Yeah, because I need to know. I need to figure out what I'm doing. I'll probably post this on Twitter too and just be like, hey, look how far I am. And if they have suggestions on how to make this look more like a button here, that would be great. I think I'm gonna do that right now and do it while live, because why not? I don't know. I don't think anyone else has really tuned in besides Cynthia, really, which is totally fine. I really appreciate you guys coming and checking this out. I thought that it would switch that, but apparently it did not. So that's probably why no one's watching, because no one knows that it's a Swift. No, it says it there. Okay. View dashboard, go away. Cool. Okay, yeah, so now if that looks good. I open GIFFox, so let's just Shift 7. GIFFox is also great at getting simulator stuff. Spacers. Okay. Cool. It says it's recording. Click here. You can go and edit. I can say 120 here. Save. And it calculates it all down. Start it. Let it do a couple seconds here. And then Command Escape to actually stop that GIF. So that GIF's gonna load. I really appreciate you guys watching. I know I had a couple technical difficulties at the beginning, and it still looks like my stream is not really that smooth when it comes to motion. Sorry, I know I'm working on it. I keep trying new things. I might start, if I can get into my office, I think I'm going to start doing I'll try doing the capture card into my Linux box, and that might be a little bit easier. I do lose a little bit of things here, but I think it might be a little bit better on my computer though, because then it's just projecting out to another screen. Cool. I'm gonna stage all. Adjusted views. Got designs in there. Oh well. I decided to delete it later. It doesn't matter. I added in designs. I don't know if I actually want. I guess at some point it'll need it. Cool. That got done there. Oh, why it took a screenshot. But here's my GIF. I also like GIFFox because it puts what you're typing in at the bottom there, which is nice. Okay, so that works. I also needed to get a screenshot. And maybe Swift Twitter will help me, or iOS Twitter will help me. I'll also probably ask on Reddit. I don't know if I can do that on some of the subreddits, but that's okay. Cool. Let me just check out my sketch again and see if there's anything on the main screen that I need to do, or that I want to do, I should say. Okay, 120 grams. I know at some point I need to figure out how to turn that thyme brown. Once the bloom is done, that way it just looks a bit better, and it corresponds to, hey, your bloom is done, and that's another way to show it. I'm gonna go ahead and add that to Trello. Safari. I don't use Safari as my main browser. I use Brave as my main browser, but whenever I'm doing this, Safari is just a little bit better resources wise. Cool. So that also got me. Finish it 4. Window. Cool. Alright, I am done developing. I'm going to go ahead and stop tasks and close Xcode because I'm actually done for the day developing on that. I wanted to add this into Trello Coffee app. Sorry for the keyboard being so clicky. But we're going to add another card. Figure out how to make time text a different color when the time is bright. So once bloom time is hit, then the color changes. Save. Cool. I'm gonna put that that's fine at the bottom. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Do me a favor if you can. Like I said, hit the follow button if you're watching on Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. All of it will be helpful. If for some reason you don't want to do that, I am documenting all of my work on this app. On this Ko-Fi page, you can see the last 2 here. They'll also be cross-posted to my blog and to dev.to, just different places. But please, like, keep an eye on here. It's gonna just document exactly what we went over, kind of like show notes if you're listening to podcasts. It's just like video. It's like my live stream notes, I guess, here. Feel free, if you want to, drop some support on my Ko-Fi page, and show your love, show your interest. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps me in the end. And I will see you guys on Wednesday when I start working on getting my rock garden in Animal Crossing. So that's what we have to look forward to Wednesday at 11:30 CDT time. Woo! Anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and I will see y'all on Wednesday.